All right. Hello, everyone. Just going to spend a few minutes talking about your annotated bibliography, um, which starts off your recommendation report. So let's take a look. Remember that this starts off your recommendation report, helps you find, if this is a summer course, 3 sources. This example we're about to look at is the current example on D2L. You'll see the first source is Anson and Forsberg. Remember that technically you need to have 3 original sources. You'll note that this one just has 2 original sources, the Ballantine and the Westbrook. Both of them on copyright. This is someone who chose to write the recommendation report on sort of changes in copyright. Remember we talked about sort of traditional or current legislative views of copyright in class. And as I recall, this recommendation report sort of captured the problems with those, and then talked about solutions or recommendations for the digital age, something more like the Lawrence Lessig essay that we read in class. But they had to go out and find some original sources as well, and they found 2. I'll show you where they found these later, and there's plenty of other good research there, but that will be a different lecture. But the main thing I'd like to say about the annotated bibliography is that when you're writing, it should be mostly summary. Perhaps for other courses it'll be some summary of the article and sort of an integration of the article into the research field, what it has in common with other articles, how it differs from other articles, the major viewpoints or theories that you may use from it in your own writing, whatever that may be, your own research, whatever it may be. But for the assignment in this class, I'd like you to have 150 words, and nearly all 150 of those words should be summary. That is annotation of the article, with maybe a few sentences at the end on how you'll use it in your project or how it relates to other readings. One thing that goes well in all of these, and this is why this is a good example of an annotated bibliography, is that every sentence contains new information. And another thing to think about is that I essentially feel like I've read the article, or I get the gist of the entire article, its interests, its findings, the data along the way, and then its conclusions too. And you get that in each of these 3 annotations in here. And so that makes for a good annotated bibliography, right? But essentially, one thing you want to press toward is new information in each sentence. There's not a lot of redundancy in annotated bibliographies because you don't have a lot of time to say this. How long do they have to be? Depends on the class, depends on your own interests. If you had your own personal research project, they could be as long as short as you wanted them to be. I've just made these 150 words because I feel that's about how much it takes to capture an article, at least the main ideas of an article, and that's what you're doing here, capturing the main ideas. I'll say that if you read the Anson-Forsberg, that's a good one to read because it's an article that you're reading for class. It's actually my least favorite of these 3 summaries. I actually think, in terms of capturing the scope of an article and presenting a lot of new information, I actually think the Ballantine and the Westbrook are actually better summaries, better annotations. So if you just read through this piece, you'll see that you're getting new information in every sentence. In his piece, Ballantine addresses the unusual stance of copyright in the fashion world. So this is copyright and something outside of tech writing. Designers advocating in favor of copyright have adopted the term plagiarism to describe similar identical pieces. So it's looking at how copyright in one field, or plagiarism in one field, the field of writing, is somehow transferred to another field. And in that way, what this person is probably doing with this, if you just read through the summary, is probably examining how copyright functions in a field outside of writing to try to make a recommendation in the recommendation report for how copyright could work in the field of writing, of technical writing or professional writing or something like that, right? And that's what they're getting at if you were to read through this. But you'll see it's basically a summary of the article as you read through. And just nice tight description. If you want to look at the sentences, Westbrook discusses, right? You've got the author's name, you've got a good strong verb right away. Those verbs are called signal verbs or reporting verbs. Discusses, reports, summarizes, tells us, posits, argues, all those types of things, right? Are good strong verbs to use here. That'll keep your sentences nice and short and with good descriptive language. I think we can leave it at that. If you want to take a look at one more, We can take a look at the recommendation report, and you'll see where these things wind up. I showed you this in a previous lecture, but eventually these will get placed inside of your recommendation report. So not only do they forward your thinking and help you read on what your potential problems and solutions may be for your recommendation report, but also then you'll be placing these inside of a recommendation report because they add ethos. They show that you've actually done some research on your problems, and that way you are becoming an expert of sorts when you do this. So the original reason we do this assignment is to forward your thinking, to make you identify problems, potential problems, or reverse engineer problems at least, so that you can write your recommendation report. But eventually they wind up in the recommendation report as well. And if you write them well right away, I will provide you feedback, of course, on your rough drafts, but then eventually you can just copy and paste these into your report. Notice that it's either MLA or APA setup right here. You can just copy and paste your annotated bib into here and retain all that as well. And again, well written. If we just look at the writing of this, Raymond addresses complicating factors such as a writer's variety of organizations make it difficult, right? So we've got some good sentence structure going on here. Again, it's pressing into new information constantly. We have a basic statement here. Raymond addresses the uncertainty concerning authorship and fair use in the field of tech communication. And then we get into complicating factors, more of the major ideas. Here's the major idea. Here are the other major ideas that fall in underneath that, right? And then a description or definition or explanation of those. There are some quotes you'll notice, but not a lot, which is good. You shouldn't have an annotated bibliography loaded up with quotes because you're trying to cover a lot of territory quickly, and those quotes will not let you cover as much territory, right? So this is more large paraphrasing. You can see this one works okay for a recommendation report. It's enumerated, right? A nice list format. Probably because these are the aspects of what a waiver needs, of what a genre needs. This is a genre analysis in a way. Waivers must be easy to understand, must use certain words. This is kind of like the language of contracts, right, that we read on previously in the course. So that seems to work okay too. Most of them, though, will look like this, sort of 1, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs of summary. All right, so that's the purpose. That's how it works in your assignment. Get you thinking about these things, and I'll show you how to go about finding some of these things in another lecture. Thank you.